everyone, and welcome to this week's video. This week I'm going to talk about Fae-bruary. I made this magic list on my Discord for like a prompt monthly drawing, and Fae-bruary is a month of drawing fae creatures or fairies. So as you can see, I've already done a few days already, and I wanted to talk about a bit about the inspirations for my version of Fae-bruary. So for Fae-bruary, I'm going to draw fairies every single day. I'm super excited by it, and I'm going to do all of my fairies inspired by Arthur Rackham's work. Now, Arthur Rackham is a children's illustrator in the early 1900s. He is possibly one of my all-time favorite illustrators just because his line work and detail approach is impeccable. Now, probably the most iconic illustrations that he has done and what people would recognize him for is probably the Alice in Wonderland illustrations, but he also did work for A Midsummer Night's Dream, as well as quite a few of the Grimm's fairy tales and more. Honestly, I love looking at his work. It has got this beautiful muted palette to it, but the line work is just absolutely inspirational. I'm a sucker for line work. I absolutely adore it. And this is around about the time that Art Nouveau was a huge thing. So you'll see a lot of Art Nouveau inspirations in here as well. So honestly, I really wanted all of my fairies to be sort of inspired by all of this gorgeous line work. So I've done the first 3 days here, as you can see, and I'm trying to loosely base the style on Arthur Rackham, but keeping that muted palette. So for my line work, I've chosen to use the Unipin fine liners, and for colour, I'm actually using the Derwent Graphite Tint palette. I've actually done a review on this if you do want to check that out, but this has a gorgeous muted tone, which is something that I'm exactly looking for, and will keep my work to that beautiful dull tone that I'm after. So the illustration that I'm doing today is based on the prompt Sleep. I knew I wanted a fairy among a field of poppies. I'm going to that poppy reference again, which some of you may know from The Wizard of Oz. Poppies are a sleep Valium. They were used in a lot of drugs in the early 18th and 19th century, which is kind of interesting when you hear about it. It was used in the manufacturing of opium. Kind of fascinating, really dark history, and poppies are also a symbol of remembrance as well. And so I really wanted to do something with a character laying in a field. So I'm actually using the illustration that's on the left, which is a character sort of like asleep with trees all around them. And I sort of used this pose as inspiration for this piece. And that's sort of where I was going. I knew I wanted a fairy, I knew I wanted poppies, and I knew I wanted this sort of like very elaborate pose, and of course the muted palette, which is thanks to the Graphite Tint actual palette in general, that's really helped with the overall illustration. Challenge months. Challenge months are a thing that do come up fairly often, and there are hundreds of different challenge months that are out there. There is probably around about 3 or 4 each month, and some going up to as much as 8 challenges that are on at the same time. I just really wanted to draw fairies, and I'm really glad that Patreons actually this month chose me to do this. So Patreons are going to be getting the full PDF as well as prints, and the physical tier rewards will be getting a physical copy of the Patreon of the book as well. And with my next store update in March, I will be adding a different variant cover of the Fae-bruary book, so Patreons get a different variant cover, but I digress. Arthur Rackham's work massively inspired me from being a very young child. John Tenniel and Arthur Rackham were two of my favourite illustrators that did the Alice in Wonderland series. Alice in Wonderland played a huge part in my growing up. It's one of my all-time favourite children's stories. I probably have about 8 different variants of the same book just because they're all done by different illustrators, and it's possibly one of the books that I will end up having the most illustrated versions of, just because I love seeing the work that people would put into it. So when I was thinking of John Tenniel's work, the thing that's really interesting is he does extremely detailed parts. So his hair is extremely detailed. The face is always very soft, very angelic. His horrifying creatures, so his creatures that he would seem as more monstrous, he tends to do harsher lines and over exaggerate certain features, and the clothing always looks like it's very flowy. It kind of reminds me of old Renaissance paintings with the clothing and all the folds, but he doesn't draw all the folds, which is very, very difficult for me to try and replicate, because I'm used to like drawing certain folds so that I know where the darkest areas are, but he doesn't do that. So trying to replicate that was very, very confusing in my head, because I've taught myself in such a long time to be able to do it. But overall, I'm quite happy with this piece. I love her posing. I really wish that I'd done the forward foot a little bit more pointed, just because that will add to that elegant pose a bit more. And I wish that I'd put the other leg in the actual drawing as well. Even though in the original drawing that I was replicating, that there wasn't a leg there, because she has one leg slightly raised towards the other, creating a sort of illusion that her butt is more towards the camera when it's not, because it's a odd sort of shaped pose. I was trying to replicate that, but I really do feel like if you saw the other foot, it just adds like this sort of like elegant sort of posing to it. I wanted this very like, oh, I've just like, you know, I'm taking a quiet nap among these flowers sort of idea. So I am going to get people asking, can I do your Fae-bruary list? Absolutely. I'm really encourage people to do challenges if they can fit it into their schedule. Absolutely do drawing challenges, because they're a really good way to keep yourself drawing every single day and practice something different. I would say if you are looking into doing a challenge month, my set list always is set yourself a timing limit for each day, so you are only allowed to spend X amount of time on that piece per day. Otherwise you'll end up spending far too much time on that piece, when it is only meant to be there for practice. It's there to challenge yourself and do something a little bit different. So for me, the challenge has been working with a muted palette and trying out a different inking style. I have a very specific inking style that I really love, but this has forced me to really try different aesthetics, which has been very interesting. Very similar to my own style, because my own style is massively inspired by Art Nouveau and of course Arthur Rackham's work, but it sort of made me think I have to try and make my faces softer, try and make everything look a little bit more angelic, since we're trying to replicate that sort of style but adding enough of our own twist onto it. Challenge months can be quite difficult, because we are forcing ourselves to do full massive pieces, and we are saying, oh, I have to do this, all my pieces, they are going to be spot illustrations, and what this means is it's a character design with a simple background. Now this background obviously is a little bit more complicated than most, because there's a lot more flowers in there, but the focus is on the character design itself. The difference between a full illustration and a character design illustration is a full illustration is it has the character in it, or it has several characters in it, and you are looking at the overall piece, not just the character itself. A spot illustration, you are wanting to put as much emphasis on the character itself. That way you are making the viewer pay attention to the character. Yes, there may be some background elements there, but the main focus is on that character. Spot illustrations more likely are used in commercial aspects, especially in magazines. You can see them in children's storybooks. Instead of a massive illustration, they maybe have a spot illustration up on the side, but spot illustrations are a lot better to manage than they are full illustrations. Another way that you could tackle a challenge month is that you could just do small drawings. For Witchtober, for the last 2 years, I think actually no 3 years now, I have done A6 illustrations instead of doing full whack A5 to A4 illustrations. This has forced me to not only work smaller but work within my time limit. Now for Fae-bruary, because it is not only a challenge month, it is also for my Patreons as well, the max I'm allowed to spend on any of these illustrations is 3 hours, and that's from concept to final product. And this is including my distractions. I get distracted massively. I'll end up on my phone checking messages, and then next thing you know, I'm on TikTok doom scrolling, watching forever the stupid videos that make me giggle, and then I suddenly realise that half an hour's gone past and I haven't done anything. And this is something that I'm trying to sort out, so I'll actually try and put my phone in a different area. I'm also been filming a lot of these for TikTok, so that I have like the sort of like short footage of them, so that they can go up daily up on my channel as well. Yes, I do have TikTok. I am on it nearly every single day. I don't post as often as I should. I try and post like every few days, because otherwise it gets overwhelming, because I'm now on so many different social media sites that need to be all controlled. I'm trying to make sure that I'm within my limit. It's just like, it's one of those, it's a platform that I'm still getting my teeth into. But yes, I'm on TikTok. I'm Sophiralou up on TikTok, if you do want to follow that by, and follow the rest of Fae-bruary, because I'm not going to be showing the rest of these illustrations up on here. Oh no, the rest will be exclusive to Patreon. Patreon, every single month they choose a challenge, so it's up to the Patreons to sort of choose like what the theme is for that month of a set list of 4. After they've chosen the theme for the month, they then get the reward for that month based on that theme. So for example, January's theme was the Snow Dragon, so we had art and theme and wallpapers all based upon that. And this month's theme is Fae-bruary, so they will be getting the zine, they'll be getting art prints, and they'll be getting stickers based upon that theme. This happens every single month. Patreon, you get plenty of exclusive content, and it goes from there. But that's enough of me talking about that. Challenge months I find are excellent for practice. They're really fun, but I understand that a lot of people can find them overwhelming. So there are places that we can take steps to sort of make sure that they are not overwhelming for us. This is basically trying to work within your means of what you can already do. Can you do a challenge month any other month? I personally say that you can do. I know some people will be like, oh, you can't do Inktober in February, or you can't do Smorgasbord in March. And I'm like, yes, you can. You can just take it in your own stride. Not everyone has time to do a full illustration every single day. Even if it's just sketches. Even if you do one way I've seen a fantastic way for people to actually approach a challenge is that they've done Sketchtember, where they've sketched all the drawings, and then they've done Inktober, where they've inked all the drawings, and then Huevember, where they've then coloured all the illustrations. And that's a really fun way to approach that challenge month. So here is the final illustration. I'm honestly really happy with it. I don't think it quite is as successful as the other ones, because the other ones are very much more Arthur Recamy. I think I've gone a bit too over detailed in the backgrounds, but I really like it. I love this muted palette with this challenge, and I am gonna have so much fun. Yet again, this is the palette I'm using. It's Derwent Graphitin. I'm not sponsored in any way, shape or form. I'm just using it for this challenge month because I think it's so much fun. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I hope that you possibly, if you want to join Fae-bruary, make sure to tag me using hashtag #StayCreativeWithSophiralou on Twitter or Instagram. But love what you do, keep drawing, and most of all, folks, stay creative.